Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. This is your host, Katy Ray, and today I wanted to bring two of my favorite entrepreneurs on to really talk about some of the struggles and then, of course, some of the successes they've gone through. Everybody knows Kevin and Brandon, my amazing producers for the podcast. Welcome from BKN Creative.
Hello.
Hi.
So ridiculous. But I had a few viewers ask me, to have specific topics. So I figured what better to hear from entrepreneurs who took the leap. And I appreciate you guys joining. You actually probably couldn't say no, but I appreciate you guys joining.
You just showed up in her office and said, get on the mic.
Yeah, it's fine. So again, like I always like to say, we'll jump right in. I want to talk about your kind of wow moment of when you finally took the leap where both of you were full-time and what it looked like to you.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, that's a... So...
The aha moment.
The aha moment.
Like, here we go.
I think it was more of like a... All right. So we started our business together, but I really dove in like head first full time by myself in April of 2018 and spent the rest of that year kind of growing the business based on actually headshots, which is really interesting. So even though I have a deep background in marketing, I started with the headshots first. So anyway, built up the business. Brandon wasn't really happy in his role at the job that he was in. And so when we would talk, I'm like, let's just do it. I'm not sure what will happen. Like we might fail miserably, but at least we tried.
Yeah.
And we might not. Yeah. And so anyway, in March of this, was it March?
Yep, it was March this year. Before the end of March, I put my notice in and then I left March 1st was my last day. And ever since then, we've been both focused on it full time, which is at the beginning was really terrifying because you go from at least having a paycheck every 2 weeks to, okay, what are we doing this month?
Where are the clients coming from?
Yep.
Where's the work coming from?
Yeah. And when we first started with me leaving, Kevin got the photo business part of it up really high. So when I started, there wasn't much design coming in and I'm the design side. So it was a little bit tricky kind of balancing out and then getting to the point where we're at now where we are pretty much equal with the work that's coming in.
But you had strategically looked at what photography was bringing in for you with the headshots and before you took the leap. So it wasn't like let's just do this, jump off this cliff right here.
Well, it was kind of like that with Kevin starting because he was at his job. He was living in, we had moved up to Tampa and then he was still working for his company in Miami and in New York. So he was only here on the weekends and it was 9 months of doing that. And he kind of just was like, screw it, I want to leave my job. And we dove right into that, to him working in the business not out of necessity, but out of let's try it. Why not?
But that helped you be able to see where it would land so you could join.
Absolutely.
Did you do any research around this area for marketing agencies? Was that any part of your strategic plan?
It was once I had started.
Okay.
So I didn't do all the, when I left my job, it was like, we have wanted to do this for a while. We tried it when we were in Colorado, and then I was recruited back to New York City for a job. And so we stopped there, even though we had started to kind of build up a pretty good client base, albeit it was pretty low revenue, but it was still good to support me. So anyway, I wanted to do that again. So Brandon's ultimate dream has always been to have his own creative or marketing agency. Since college, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew that was really a huge drive for him, and I wanted him to have that as well. And I wasn't happy in the position that I was in, and it was only really heavily photography because I worked for a studio that was in New York City and in Miami and ran it. And while it was nice and I was on the leadership of the creative agency, it wasn't a full scale that I wanted. And so I wanted to create it not only for Brandon and for us, but I also wanted to create it for the community in Tampa because we have a very unique concept in that our brand is still us. And so I wanted to keep that within it too. And so anyway, when I started it, admittedly I didn't maybe do as much research as I needed to be like, what are the agencies that are here currently? What will revenue look like? Whatever. I just kind of started it.
I think that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think it would create more fear in you to be like, oh, wait, they're doing it over there kind of like this, but they might not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I moved to Tampa, I was looking up agencies. So I did that in a sense because I was looking for a job. But I mean, looking for a job and then looking to see what other people are doing and how they're doing it is a lot different.
Yeah. But I feel like it's the biggest thing with your marketing is just showing people the value of it. And you're kind of bringing yourselves to the table. So it's also selling yourselves, which is another business, but not what we're talking about today. But because your personality, you're bringing that to the table, but also the value of marketing where not everybody understands it if you haven't been in marketing.
Yeah.
And that's like another obstacle you're going to have to face in any demographic, I feel like.
Yeah.
So what has been the biggest success for you both that you've like celebrated? And then we'll go into like biggest obstacles you've run into the first couple of years.
I would say the biggest success, well, man, I mean, Brandon leaving his job and coming here while it was like a really scary unknown.
Big risk.
Huge. That was probably the most exciting thing too, because now we were completely self-sustainable, right? We don't rely on another company's paycheck or any, that said, we do rely on clients, but it's still our brand. That was Fred. That was the Rooster Fred.
That was Rooster Fred. He's coming in hot.
Yeah. So I think that the biggest thing that we Fred distracted him. The biggest thing that we celebrated was Brandon leaving his job, I think. And then we hit our year mark right after that. I think, in April. That was pretty exciting. And I think that moving to our new space has been the most exciting because it was really the next chapter in our business and jumped our business from like, where it was to like this. He is aggressive. Anyway,
Freddie wants to be a part of this podcast today.
But it kind of took us to the next point, which is really we get to hire.
Yeah.
We get, and that I think was the biggest.
Yeah.
And that's bigger. Yeah.
And overall, it's just all exciting because we're really growing our own, making our roots and developing a business that we would have wanted to work for.
Love that.
And we both worked for so many shitty people that it's nice to be able to be like, okay, so what didn't we like about working for them and what can we do better, not only with our clients, but with our employees? Like, what can we offer them with our benefits and that kind of stuff, which is part of the business that you don't really think about. Like, especially when we're both working at agencies separate, you only see the creative side. You don't see the organizational side of it. So it's fun to be able to bring it all together and just develop our own thing to hopefully keep growing and one day be something where we have a ton of employees and we're able to offer them things and really be the kind of company we've always wanted to be.
And owners that you always wanted to work for.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge for anything you learn from your worst companies and your best companies. And sometimes I think it's amazing when people just jump right into entrepreneurship, but that experience from other companies gives you like a visual of what's happening out there.
It really does, yeah.
And I feel like that experience, especially from both you and the different companies, big companies you were in, I think that brings a lot to the table, which is perfect. That's why you're my marketing company. Excuse me. One of the things is biggest obstacles you face and how you overcome them. Not only with the fears that kind of creep in at you of like, okay, we're doing this today. Okay, this could fail. Because that's all throughout, I feel like, when you own a business. But like, what are the biggest obstacles that you've noticed that you've had to like create a plan to like get through it?
Well, I think that when you're opening up your own business, there's growth opportunities along the way. And I always say that everything's like a growth opportunity, right? Even if you're like a shitty person, I'm like, well, you have a growth opportunity in front of you.
To not be a shitty person.
Yes. And so,
growth
but I think that like our biggest hurdle was actually a recent one, and that was the late this summer. I think it was August, right?
Yeah.
So Brandon and I, he left his job in March, but he was still working for his old position, which they became a client of Became Creative, and but then it stopped, and they refilled Brandon's position, and so anyway, that revenue stream stopped, and we weren't really prepared for it to stop,
like a backup plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we went to Europe, not really thinking about it, maybe spent a little bit too much money, landed a big client, and then that client was no longer our client. They are now, but at the time it was like oh crap, we won't have that money coming in, and we had no money. And so we had to consider getting a part-time job. We had to not pay our bills for a hot minute so that we could pay the employee that we do have. And that was a time where we were like, all right, well, we'll give it till December of this year. And, if we are really just not making it, then we'll try to go back to, somebody goes back to work for a hot minute, whatever.
Because you just moved your studio at that time too, right?
We did, yeah. So we pulled money from our retirement in order to pay for, because we don't have an investor or anything. We just wanted it to be completely us. And so we almost closed, really. And me more so because I've been at it for so long. I was like, Jesus Christ, I built this whole thing, and now wow.
Well, you start to feel like you're failing. When
you
it's
do.
Not. It's just the ebbs and flow of owning a small business.
Mm-hmm. And those are things that we, even though we were in the industry, we knew summer is slower. We know that things get slower around the holidays, after the holidays. But it wasn't a realistic, we hadn't lived it on the business side of it. Obviously, as creatives and marketers, we did in other agencies.
Yeah. And then even in that time, so like I said before, we were so used to the one side that the organizational side is we were taking our paychecks, what we normally would have been being paid, and not realizing that how much the income taxes were going to be for that quarter, which that was an additional like big ticket item that we had to pay for, that we're like, shit, what are we doing? We have no money. We're in a place where there's nobody's even like wanting to talk to us because it's the summertime, and it's, at least especially in the Tampa area, a lot of people are just gone for the summer. So it was all kind of like a big crushing moment at one point where we both sat at our desk and individually just like had a mental breakdown.
Yeah. I think this is the side of entrepreneurship that some people just don't know. Like everybody there, it's always, it's not just an uphill, like you have some deep downs. And I think that, this is the rough side of it. And that was Brandon and I sat at our desks literally crying. Yeah. And it was horrible.
It was.
Because you built something and you're sitting there having to figure out if you have to close it and
pay.
And the marketing industry is so interesting because one day you can have 8 clients, the next day you can have none. Yeah. So especially if it's project based, like a lot of the work that we do is project based, where somebody comes in, they want a website or they want some personal branding photos. And then that's it. And we're done. And the hardest part is trying to get the retainer clients that you have that come in and you work with them and you collaborate and you create a relationship with them where you're doing this work and you're helping them grow all together. And that's how you get your monthly bills paid. And that's how you do all that stuff so that you can keep going. And that was, at that point, we didn't have many retainer clients that was keeping us afloat. So it was a little bit tricky.
Yeah. And we're obviously thankful for what we do have, but I think that was the hardest obstacle to overcome, but it really kicked us. Here's the thing, the universe gives you shit for a reason. And I think that we were like, it's going to become creative. And it was kind of like okay, like there's some pretty major,
you got to get resistance. You need to figure out how to get
so the
through.
Universe, I think, delivered that, whatever you believe, but the universe to us delivered this kind of challenge. And I think that we rose above it because we've had the best revenue in our business of all time, right? In the past 2 months and will moving forward, which is great. We landed some big retainer clients. We, worked on some other projects finished, which is all, and people are starting to really know our concept, who we are as people, which translates to our business.
But you could have given up that day when you were crying.
We could have.
Absolutely.
We could have. Yeah. And and it was.
It's kind of like a awesome story though.
Yeah. I'm happy about it.
But and
just sucks being in it.
I got fatter again because of it.
I know, you gained weight. But
the week of struggle.
And I tried to be as optimistic as I could in that point, where I probably annoyed the shit out of Kevin, where I'm like, it's okay, we're going to be okay, we're going to do this, we can make this happen, like let's sit down and make action plans, like what can we do.
And after he cried at his desk for
of course I had my mental
I was ready and I
have to have it.
After
Real
all
life.
of the heartburn and agita I got from all of the anxiety, but we sat down and we made action items. Okay, what can we do from here? What is our issue? Our issue is we need to get our name out there. We need people to see that we're here. We need to get people to realize that that we are an entity that they can utilize. So that's
and
when
you
we
know your worth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so we did a couple of things. We started doing our little video series that is on hold right now that we need to finish.
It's on hold. We just haven't because we got so many clients.
Yeah, that's
Which is a good
okay.
thing.
That's a good on hold.
yeah.
We started to post more on social media. We started to go out in the community more and go into more networking events and all that. And that really helped getting it to where we are now.
But networking events that are valuable. I always like
Exactly.
people like, I love like babes and brunch and stuff for me for like fun to like vent and, and get like viewers or something. But for consulting, I need business people around that are networking for, you know, there's like so many different things you can do, like for your soul or for your revenue. But I think that's so important to show the real, like you could, I'm so lame, but attitude does equal aptitude. And in that moment, you both could have just been like the Debbie Downers and just brought each other down. But instead you got it out, you cried it out, you ate your pizza, whatever you wanted to eat, and then you got through it together.
We also allowed ourselves to exercise. And that is when I think that helped us focus, because it was that day, it was that like month where we were running almost every day.
And then we got.
Are you trying to hint about something, Brandon?
That when you start exercising,
are you making eye contact at me and Kevin and I right now?
We have to exercise.
No, but I think a huge lesson out of this, and you kind of hinted to it a little bit, is that we also allowed ourselves to not be okay.
Yeah.
For a little, right?
You have to.
And then we were like, okay, enough. Let's go. Let's move forward. And I think that that can be a miss for some people. And that's why they get into a cycle. And so
everything's fine.
Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not. And it's okay that it's not. And I'm going to be really fucking upset about it for right now. And that is okay.
Yeah.
And then you move on the next day.
But that's what like being real is. And then that just shows that who you are as a company is a real company. You know, if you have to call someone they haven't paid, you've learned like not everybody's going to work like you. So you need to be like, hey, you owe me money today.
Yeah.
Then you become what's it called? The bookies in the mob when they go pick up all
Yes. But it's also like what you said, knowing your worth. So we didn't allow ourselves to get desperate. And that's a big thing, is that we didn't just take random small jobs just to do it. We made sure that, okay, we're not going to sacrifice our hourly rate. We know what we produce, so we know how we produce it, and it's deserving of our hourly rate. And then we just stuck by that, and we didn't give up and just say, screw it, let's take whatever we can, because that wouldn't have been worth it for us.
Yeah, because I mean, it's basically your morals.
Yeah,
correct.
I mean, like you're not going to be like, oh yeah, we'll take on this a-hole client because he's going to pay us this time because we need it. It's like, no, you're building something and you want to maintain it. It's going to be hard. And so what's some of the advice you would give people that want to start on their own without investors? Don't you want to? Oh, like, oh, wow.
Do you mean like to our industry or specific to just entrepreneurship?
Just an entrepreneurship, because you guys did it on your own, and I feel like that's better, especially in your industry. There might be different industries, of course, for investors of like a product or a clothing line. Or,
we didn't have much upfront costs because we had a computer, we had our cameras, we had lighting equipment, we had all that
invested
already.
in equipment already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different because we didn't need that initial gain.
But there's credit cards. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which we actually didn't utilize too much of. But I think that here's the thing. The way that we live our life, or me, Brandon is like this now, maybe a little bit, but I've always been a risk taker. I moved to New York City in a week, right? Back in the day, like I've always taken some pretty significant risks. Leaving my job was a big, significant risk. I did not have much in savings. And so it was like, all right, I got to make this work in a month, right? And so I figured it out.
You're good under pressure, too.
Yes. And I think that not everyone is like that, but I don't think you live unless you take risks, right? Now, that said, sometimes if you're opening a restaurant, you need an investor to do a build out to get your equipment. So I think that it really depends on
industry,
that type of thing. We have really reinvested in our business. And so the revenue that we have been driving also is reinvested back into our business to get our space and to get more equipment and, to hire people. And so it's always worth it to follow whatever dream you have. And I think that as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of support that is out there for entrepreneurs. There's small business support. There's even government assistance for minorities that want to start their own business as well. And that's important, right?
Yeah. Get the support.
Yes.
Don't always be like, I can do it all on my own.
Exactly. And get the support of friends and family. You know, not monetary support. They can have emotional support, and that's just as valuable. For us, I didn't want an investor, and here's why. I wanted to be able to fully control and create the brand that we have in our vision as who we are as humans. And I didn't want an investor controlling that or adding to that.
I think that's huge because your vision is your vision and no one's going to have your exact vision. No. So if you don't want to alter that at all, bringing someone can be like you, but they still don't have your vision.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that for us, it was more like, could we have had an investor and maybe do more and have a bigger office? Yeah, probably. But
this is more satisfying.
Yes, because it's ours. An investor is not controlling the outcome.
And there's a point where if you invest too much and you don't have the income coming in, that's when you can screw yourself a lot too.
And then you don't own it.
And you don't own it fully, and you can't do whatever you want. And then say if it all goes bad, and then you still owe this investor X amount.
That said, an investor is not bad either, because some trades you definitely need an investor to start out.
I like, so your company is everything you love and what your vision is, but I like bringing up your passion. So Kevin acts, I think Brandon's passion, digital beauty. I don't know what's your passion. Just digital beauty.
Gorgeous.
Digital beauty.
I don't know. I feel like,
but beautiful. I love that Kevin hasn't slacked on his passion to then slacked on his passion to then not bring it. He brings it to both, and you can have that while not putting the pressure on. I took this from Big Magic. Don't put the pressure on your passion to build your revenue. Work focused on, because you don't want to make your passion not your passion, but acting could eventually be revenue, right? But you haven't put all the pressure on it and you keep doing what you're doing. And I think that's important for people to know too, that your passion isn't always like, yes, your passion is marketing. That's your experience.
Of course.
But you love acting and you love photography.
One.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that you can have more than one.
Yes.
I mean, I got a degree in commercial photography and went to art school because I do actually really love photography. I also love film and video, and I love performing. I have always been a performer since middle school, really. And it's a huge passion of mine. And I don't necessarily number them, but I always wanted to be an actor. And photography is in line with that too. So was marketing. I do love owning an agency, but and I think that that's what a lot of people, you can have multiple passions and you can pursue all of them. You can't not do something. And
that's why I loved your vision when I brought up my idea, because you didn't say you need a niche. And I was like, I do. No. And then you're like, no, everything's fine. I just throw everything in there.
I fully believe, because there's a lot of, even in marketing and creative agencies, they're like, you should choose one industry to be successful. And I'm like, no. Because even when I was in art school, they were like, you need to choose one type of photography. And I was like,
Yeah. And that's why you're here now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can even look, a lot of successful business owners and entrepreneurs have their hands in many different pots. They might have one big successful business that people know about, but they're still doing other things on the side. They're creating different brands and companies and pursuing different things while still focusing on their main one.
Or doing hood rat shit.
Exactly.
Selling
drugs on the side.
Yeah, it's fine. They're still doing it on the side. They make time. It's important. It's valuable. Okay, so some advice for the viewers. They want to take that leap. I know, just do it, Nike. Hashtag Nike.
Just do it.
But a couple pieces of advice from you guys, and kind of just the realness you've brought. Like, give yourself that time to get over the obstacle, but then you move forward or something. Just whatever you want.
I mean, just
Brandon
do
first.
Just do it. I mean, there's never going to be a right time. It's like having children. You're never going to be ready. You just have to do it. If you want to do it, figure it out. Like, do your research, make sure you know what you need to get done. I mean, you're going to start and you might fail like we did a little bit, but then you'll get back up and just keep going and kind of make it happen.
And have a little bit of a plan. I feel like you're a perfect example. Like, you took the leap, but you had a little bit of a strategic plan. Brandon didn't quit for it right away.
Yeah.
Kevin went full time. Like, you're able to kind of balance it out.
And then find people that you can vent to. I think that's been really healthy for us, because, I mean, Kevin and I are a couple. We've lived together. We work together all the time, which is great. And I love him. But sometimes, it's good to have somebody that you can... that is rooting for you and has all the support for you, and somebody you can talk to when you are down. So like the day that Kevin and I were having a mental breakdown, my mom called, and she's our accountant. She knows everything that's going on with the business. And even just having her like sit there and listen to me as I couldn't speak because I was so upset. It's good to just have somebody to be a cheerleader for you too.
Yeah, and understand the business that you're doing instead of just like, oh, okay, good, you'll do fine. Read that one quote and get through it. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I think on my end, I went to a seminar yesterday, an acting seminar, and there was a casting director there that said 2 words, which I thought were poignant for me at the time, and always has been with our business too, and that was to be persistent. So persistence and perseverance, and I think that's the same with anything in your life, but especially if you're wanting to do this adventure, you got to keep persistent and persevere through all the challenges, right? And then in addition to that, I think you need to find your tribe, and that can be many things, but I think that friends, family, your clients can even be your tribe.
Motivated people.
Yeah, we have our client, which is Maverick Home Remodeling, and they're in Colorado. They have become some of our really, really good friends as well. And which is amazing, right? We don't, agree politically, for example, but we don't have to. They're still a part of our tribe. They're entrepreneurs as well, and your clients can become your friends too, and vice versa. So I think that really finding your tribe, and it doesn't necessarily have to be entrepreneurs. Maybe your tribe are your girlfriends that go out on the weekend with you and just get silly drunk and throw up with you on the side of the street. And they're like, I love what you do.
Is that what you did Saturday? Okay.
Yeah, I wish. I haven't done that in a while.
He's flopping.
I'm too old now. But like even that, something as simple as that can be
kind of get you back on.
Super motivating.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but also just fuck it. Do you, because you don't know when you're going to die.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The only time you have is right now, so keep doing it.
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys are just, I get out of here. Let's live our lives. Again, we're at BKN Creative Studio in Ybor with the owners of BKN Creative and Freddie the Rooster.
Freddie.
You are at BKN Creative. You'll find him at Not a Great Whisperer page. Follow us at The Real K Ray. I had Kevin and Brandon here today, and they're super amazing. Thanks for your quick tips. To just do it.
Just the tip.
What did you say?
Oh my gosh, of course you did. Thank you for joining us today and leaving on such a great note. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to follow us. Morty's Music will sign you out. Bye.
Bye.